Hey, what's up guys? Dr. Kyle Loveless here. Today we're gonna talk about exercise specifically for women. It's much different than how men should exercise. Few people realize that though. We live in a world where it's just like exercise the junk out of your body, it seems like, and it's actually hurting a lot of women. So I wanna talk about that today. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel so you can constantly be getting new videos and new information to help you become really your own health expert. That's the point of all of this, all right? Also, at the links below, go to our click on the inflammation ebook and make sure you read that. I talk about 10 ways to find out if you are inflamed and 10 ways to see what you need to do about actually becoming uninflamed. All right, guys, let's get started. Let's dive into what exercise should women be doing, or how should women be exercising. This actually is not something that's talked about very often. If you go to a gym, if you go to a boot camp, they don't really say here's the difference between men and women when it comes to exercise, but there's a huge difference between men and women. Think about it this way. So men, when we go through puberty, testosterone goes up and it stays there, right? I mean, we have estrogens and things like that, but they're at a much lower level. And for women, estrogens, progesterone, all that stuff's kind of going up and down throughout the month and for a cyclical woman. So when it comes to exercise, we need to be paying attention to that because it takes a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of stress to have a cycle, all right? And so it takes a lot of stress for exercise. And so when it comes to how the body works and how it handles stress, we have something called our sympathetic nervous system. This is kind of our fight or flight response, okay? So the best way I can explain this is, let's say someone goes and let's say they're going to the zoo, or let's say you're walking down a dark alley and someone jumps out at you really quick. Well, when that happens, your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up, cholesterol levels are going to start to go up, your liver is going to start producing cholesterol, so you can start to produce cortisol, your adrenal is going to produce cortisol, your heart rate's going to come, your thyroid levels are actually going to come down, you're not going to be digesting food, you don't need to reproduce at this moment, you literally need to survive. Your immune system's going to be suppressed. We're just trying to survive, okay? Well, the thing is exercise will do the same thing. Cortisol levels will go up, reproduction is going to go down. And so when we're specifically talking for women, reproduction going down might seem like not that big of a deal, but if you're chronically every single day doing this high intensity exercise, well then your reproductive organs are going to, our system is going to have is going to be suppressed or depressed, and it's going to start to show up in symptoms, things like estrogen issues, things like testosterone issues, things like PCOS, endometriosis, cramping, just really intense cycles where you're bleeding too long, or for many women, it disappears, right? And I think we all know that when we see, a girl in soccer that trains nonstop. And that's another side story on how, like coaching and things like that and how they do training now. It's just kind of like try to beat you to the ground every single time instead of being smart about it and recovering everything else. But we're not going to talk about that today. So for women, there's a specific thing you can do to prevent all the stuff that happens when you exercise too much, okay? And so if you're someone that maybe you're dealing with something like PCOS, maybe it's endometriosis, hey, maybe you're someone that just has a really rough cycle, or maybe it's disappeared, instead of going to your doctor, right? Instead of going to your medical doctor and getting birth control, because that's what they'll put you on, instead of taking synthetic hormones to alter your endocrine system, which no doubt wreaks havoc on your body long term, let's actually just work with stress. Let's work with cortisol. Let's work with progesterone, because when cortisol is up, progesterone is going to be down. You're not going to start producing estrogen because you need the same constituents for that cortisol as you do for estrogen. So you're going to actually go into survival mode, not reproductive mode. Digestive issues, all these other things can come from that. So here's what I want to talk about. So here's how you want to exercise as a woman, okay? Days 1 through 7 of your cycle. Here's what you want to do. I'm just going to read it, and we'll actually put this up on the screen too. It's kind of a little picture that the Wellness Way has created. But it's 5 to 7 days of menstruating. Extremely careful with exercise. So that means get outside, walk. You definitely want to move, right? And you want blood flow to be moving through your body, because going to the uterus, it needs blood flow. Lack of blood flow, lack of oxygen is what cramping is, okay? And so 5 to 7 days of menstruating, extremely careful with exercise, get outside and walk, maybe do a little bit of yoga, maybe do some stretching, deep breathing, things like that. But you definitely do not want to be doing CrossFit or high intensity exercise in that period of time, okay? No boot camps during this period of time. If you're an athlete, a soccer player, maybe a softball player, you don't want to be doing a ton of training, high intensity training at this time. please share this with your coach. I think that the true reality is that if you follow this, you're actually going to be a better athlete because you're going to have the opportunity to recover, and healing is what makes you stronger. So week 2, days 7 through 14, we're going to look at high intensity workouts. That's your high intensity, short duration workouts. Now, I'm not saying go run a marathon during high intensity. I'm talking about high intensity, not long duration. So that's going to be things like burst training or HIIT training. That's going to be stuff like the boot camp that's 30 minutes long, or going to the gym and doing some sprints with rests in between, that 4x4 kind of training. So interval training is really good, and that's an intense workouts. Things done during this time of the month. This is also the time of the month where you're going to have a higher sex drive. Okay, sex drive goes up. This is also the time of the month where it's best to actually do that. Okay, weeks 1 through 7 is not best to do that. Good time. It's a good time to detox. So if you're someone that likes to do detoxification techniques, maybe it's taking different herbs, maybe it's following an eating plan like intermittent fasting, or even doing some fasting in there. This is when you want to do that. It's a time when you can handle stress better. Okay, week 3 is days 14 through 21. We're gonna bring that exercise back down, less intense, okay? So the most intense time is gonna be week 2, okay? Days 7 through 14. 14 through 21, again, walking, stretching, yoga, let's say vibe platforms, so those vibrating platforms, maybe doing some air squats or even just standing on it. It's all about blood flow at this point. It's all about oxygen to your muscles, oxygen to the uterus. Week 4 is days 21 through 28, okay? And that is that high intensity workout, not quite as high though as week 2. Week 2 is where you can just go all out. So days 7 through 14, hit it, right? Go the hardcore weightlifting training, things like that. Now week 4, days 21 through 28 is gonna be your high intensity workouts, but less duration, and maybe just not, you're not gonna try to run yourself into the ground on this one, okay? Prepping your body for menstrual week. This is the potential high sex drive as well. So weeks 2 and 4 is where you're gonna see that high sex drive. You're gonna see that ability to handle stress. You're gonna see that ability to do high intensity exercise. Now, if you're doing week 1 and week 3 and you're doing high intensity exercise through that as well, here's what's gonna happen to your female hormones. Boom, they're gonna crash. You're gonna have symptoms over time, or it's gonna disappear, which isn't healthy for anyone. It's not just about reproduction. Those hormones also are very important for your immune response. They're very important for digestion, for thyroid health. Hey, if your cortisol levels are constantly up, thyroid has to be down. Over time, your thyroid's gonna suffer. If your immune system's suffering from high stress levels, guess what? Now that can lead to autoimmune diseases and other things. So this type of exercise is not just for reproduction. This type of exercise is for your overall health long term. And here's the thing, the whole point of exercise in the first place is longevity, not just looking good. Those women with 6-pack abs that I saw the other day, somebody coming out of the store and her biceps were bigger and stronger than mine. I don't know about stronger, but they were definitely bigger. They might have been stronger. But the point is, I just saw that, I'm like, man, she's really unhealthy. I didn't say that, but that's what my mind was thinking. And it's because of that. It's hormones. Female hormones are supposed to be different than male hormones. And there's a reason God created us that way. And that's the gift that comes with being a woman. I mean, you think about it, like all the things that women can do that men really aren't set up to do. Multitasking, actually being great at raising a family, being great at actually nurturing children, and empathy, and all the things that come with estrogen that men just tend to not have as much of because we have that high testosterone. Okay, so both of them are great. Men can head down, focusing on something like nothing else. Women are great at multitasking. You put those two together, and that's how God created it to be. We don't need to switch them. I'm going political now, so we'll stop there. But here, I'm gonna put this up on the screen. Make sure you go to the links, get our inflammation ebook. The key to longevity is also keeping inflammation down, not being in this constant immune response that most of us are in because of stress, because of foods we're eating, because of emotional stress, because of all the different things that we're doing, like high intensity exercise all month long. Now men, hey, high intensity exercise is great, but you also need rest too. It's not just about running yourself into the ground. I know for me, I did the 75 hard challenge. I did my testosterone test before and after. It had crashed afterwards because I was working out hard 2 times a day for 75 days, and it just crashed. I mean, you drain yourself. So we also need that rest as well. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got a lot out of this. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, share this video. Hey, if you have a young girl in your life, maybe it's a daughter, maybe it's a sister, maybe it's a niece, share this with her and her parents so that she can actually help herself not be on birth control, because these things are awful for your health. All right, you guys have an awesome day.